Welcome to 3 Lanes number 51. This time I will be correcting some of the stuff that I spoke about last week. That was number 50 and it was for the 911R, and we're talking about some homologation stuff. And the truth is that homologation still happens in the modern racing, but it's not the same as before. It's been a little more relaxed, and different divisions address it in different ways. But if we go back to the historical rules for homologation, the fundamental principles in motorsport were for the practice to begin in the 1960s, when the racing authorities were looking to balance technological advancement with cost control, meaning trying to make the car builders not have to overspend on a one-off racing car, right? So that's where they were trying to basically use economies of scale to amortize the cost of making these racing cars. So the requirement became to use the regular street cars as a kind of like platform to develop these racing cars. And the term itself derives from the Greek word homologeo or homologio, however you want to say, or I don't speak Greek, right? But it means I say the same or agree. And the approach served two purposes. Again, first, it controls spending in motorsports, meaning not trying to go bankrupt, for the companies to go bankrupt, basically, and require manufacturers to produce road-going examples of their race cars. These governing bodies for the different races wanted to prevent this one-off prototypes, and incurred so much cost in just the one car or a couple, just because you might have to have a backup car. But the second item, it was to made motorsport more relatable. So if you saw a car racing and it was a one-off, it's basically unattainable. So if you approach it this other way, then people would buy more of your cars if you're a winning car, just because they want to drive the same thing that's winning, right? So it was a link between the competition and the consumer vehicles. But the practice generated some of the motorsport most iconic vehicles, and we have, as an example, the Ford RS200 that required 200 road going rally cars, and many GT racing specials have emerged because of the creation of homologation compliant vehicles. So it's been kind of like a door for the enthusiasts to own something that has a meaning for them, right? It has a quote unquote story. It makes marketing easier for the brands. So let's jump into the current racing divisions using homologation. The GT3 Racing, it's one of the most prominent users of homologation standards. The FIA Group GT3 class requires manufacturers to homologate vehicles according to strict specifications, and the process is more standard now than when it started, and it's more accepted. GT3 allows a wide variety of car types with almost no limit on engine sizes and configurations, with performance regulated through balance of performance formulas that adjust horsepower, weight, engine management, and aerodynamics. So a combination of all those will give you the final, kind of like a final number, where you can see if it qualifies for the class or not. The GT3 homologation process requires that a road model must be a two-door design with a production of at least 300 road cars per year and 10 race car models annually for the first 2 years. Then we have the WC hypercar class which is the World Endurance Championship. They use a framework established since the class started in 2021, and it was originally thought that it would conclude in 2029, but this cycle has been extended until 2032 because it gives more stability for manufacturers, and the regulations basically specify the basic components of newly developed cars cannot undergo further revisions for a period of 5 seasons. So this is termed as the homologation cycle. And since there's a few or more automotive brands preparing to enter between 2026 and 2027, that's why it got extended to 2032. So they have the exact 5 season period, and this allows them to refine current platforms rather than develop entirely new cars for the after that cycle. So the next one that we have is Formula E, and this one is obviously a little different. Requires homologation of powertrains before the start of each season. Manufacturers they must pass a mandatory crash test meeting Formula One standards, and this before receiving homologation approval. And after, they cannot modify hardware, but they can modify software. So software adaptations remain possible throughout the course of the season, which is interesting. Then we have rally racing. This one is interesting because it used to be really strict and with the homologation requirements, sorry. But modern Rally 1 regulations from like 2022 and on have relaxed the standards compared to the Group A and Group B. Back then, they mandated production of 25,000 road legal cars within a year. 25,000 within a year. That's kind of stupid. But the current difference is the top class no longer forces you to build big batches of road cars or keep the rally car very close to showroom spec. Instead, only the lower classes follow true production-based homologation. What Group B and Group A demanded was, okay, Group B require at least 200 road legal examples of the rally car, plus 20 extra evolution versions for major upgrades, which pushed manufacturers to build ultra exotic specials like the Ford RS200, the Peugeot 205, T16, and Group A initially mandated 5,000 road cars of a given model, later reduced to 2,500 before homologation, with another 500 Evo units allowed. So even mainstream cars like the Lancer, Evo, or Impreza WRX had to be built in series volume in road form, and that's why we had so many cool cars back then. But the difference between then and now is Rally 1 cars, the current top class, they do not need to be homologated in Group A or N, and there's no minimum series production or road car requirement. And the homologation covers the race car design itself. Now, for production-based classes, like from Rally 2 to Rally 5, they still need a road car base, but the volumes are much lower, and the rally versions can deviate more in suspension, transmission, and engine hardware than what Classic Group A allowed. So the FIA homologation list, with the FIA homologation list freezing which upgrade kits are legal rather than forcing huge new road batches for every evolution. So there's no need for those Evo cars that we used to have prior, right? So in Group B and A, sorry, homologation was a marketing and cost burden. To chase wins, you had to fund thousands or at least hundreds of road cars that were mechanically similar to the rally car. Today, the top level of this series lets manufacturers build a much smaller number of pure race cars with no road car commitment, while customer cars, sorry, uh, these classes, customer car classes use more manageable production thresholds and standardized parts, so the overall homologation pressure on road car programs is reduced compared to what Group A and Group B were. After all this rambling, let's move to the IMSA GTP, which also uses homologation procedures. Recent updates to GTP cars for 2026 require homologation process, including wind tunnel sessions at specified facilities to ensure that they comply with new aerodynamic performance windows. Then we have NASCAR, which has historically used homologation rules. The 1970 homologation rules require that one car for every 2 U.S. dealers had to be built for sale to the public to qualify for competition, a regulation designed to control technological advancement. And those are the racing series that use homologation up to this day. And I think that is where we leave it. 11 minutes record time. Next week marks a year of this podcast, which I'm sure only myself listen to, but it's okay because these are things that I really like. And I don't know, I'm trying to use the new knowledge I get from school. Public speaking improvement. It definitely improved my presentation skills, speaking skills. But yeah, that's what we do it. That's what we're here. Well, that was the main goal, at least at the beginning. We'll see. We'll see what we do for number 52. Thanks so much for your time. If you're listening, I appreciate it. I will see you next time.